Welcome back, everybody. I'm like cracking up. Oh my gosh. Welcome back to the Legacy Lawyers podcast, everyone. This is Nathan Croxford here with Taylor Stone.
Hey, everybody.
We should always just, the second we get on the video, we should just start right then. Because I kid you not, the conversations that happen right before we start the podcast are just gold, and we should just have them be part of the podcast. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. It's been a nutty week for me. It's been a nutty day already. And I'll just be honest with everyone. I've done nothing to prepare for this podcast. So, but Taylor, on the other hand, has this thing nailed down solid, and he's gonna carry us today.
Everybody hear that? Sounds like somebody being thrown right under a bus. Like this will succeed or fail on this bald head instead of that one. How fantastic.
That's right. So I'll start with our why can I never think of the word?
The disclaimer?
Our disclaimer. It's even a legal term.
Like it.
And then we will just rock and roll. Okay. So I have a feeling I know what we're going to talk about today. I have a feeling that I'm going to be the butt of a lot of jokes as a result of it.
That's what you get when you don't prepare, kids. If you don't study.
That's right. That's what happens when you don't prepare. So, but anything that we get into that involves the law, which I think we will talk about, we just want everybody to know that this is a podcast for educational and entertainment purposes only. Taylor and I are both estate planning attorneys, and we do this kind of work every day. But when we get on and do podcasts, it's not to give anybody specific legal advice for their situations. Please seek out a qualified attorney to help you with your specific scenario. And with that, Taylor, what is on the docket today?
Well, oddly enough, Nathan, especially you saying that you have not prepared for this, I think you've been preparing your entire life for this. Nice. Not a bad segue.
Yeah, that was good.
Right. We're talking about Gen X. A term that has been coined a while ago and hasn't been talked about a lot recently because apparently my generation makes a lot more noise than your generation does.
Yes. Yeah. So Gen X, apparently defined as people who in the year 2026 are between the ages of 44 and 59.
If that's you, feel free to listen up. Extra special.
That is me, but I will tell you that I'm on the extreme lower end of that number.
Right. And I'm just outside of it. That's why I can always, say that, oh yeah, I'm close-ish to it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much smack dab right in the middle of those two numbers. So
yeah, I think that I think that for my generation, I had great opportunity, especially where I was situated, to experience growing up playing in the trees and outside with stick fights, and then also transition to saying, hey, what's this internet thing? Let's figure that out for, my early teenage years kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I grew up in the wilds of Wyoming. We didn't even know we didn't have running water or phone lines or electricity, let alone computers.
That is not the subject of this, but by all means, that is definitely a subject for another podcast. My gosh.
Yeah. So no, but I did not grow up with, well, I take that back. We had a very rudimentary computer in my later teen years. My brother did have like a first generation Nintendo. I could never make that thing work. He put that controller in my hands and it just does not work the way that it's supposed to. But I spent every summer in the river bottoms of the Bear River.
Oh, cool.
We would leave in the morning with BB guns, and we would not come home till dark. We'd be in the river all day. We'd be climbing trees. I'm not making this up. This is how I grew up.
I don't doubt it. And I don't think a lot of our listeners are doubting it either.
Yeah. At least once a summer, we were backpacking in the Wind Rivers, eating the fish we caught as we went for a week or more at a time.
My gosh.
I spent a lot of time in the Uintas camping with my family.
Mhm.
Um, we hunted a little bit. So yeah,
Not too bad.
I did not grow up in front of a screen.
Well, as a reward for that idyllic childhood you've now described to us all, there's actually four specific things I think that I could kind of describe, that kind of four specific pressures that are kind of on your particular generation.
Because we
So
had so much of a good time in the wilds that we did nothing to prepare ourselves for our futures. Is that what you're telling me?
well, I mean, in not so many words, but
Okay.
yes,
All right.
absolutely. The first thing that I thought was really kind of interesting as I was preparing for this was a specific statistic that we have in here. Um, According to publication Trust and Wills for 2026, they actually say that 62% of Gen Xers, so your group, so well more than half, have zero estate planning documents.
Wow.
In fact, more than any of these other generational groups that we typically work with.
Meaning my generation has less estate planning than any other generation we're talking about.
According to this, yeah.
Hmm.
And I think that not only is that kind of a wow, how fun that, that idea that you all have less estate planning, but it also is a little bit more difficult for your generation. And here's why. There's, like I said, several
Well, let me
things that,
back up for a second. So you're telling me your generation and younger generations have more planning in place than I do, than my generation does?
yep.
That's crazy. So for some reason, younger people than us are more up on this.
Hmm. Yeah.
Hmm.
And everybody's right around that 50%. I think the best already is kind of that baby boomer generation, right?
Yeah, and
And
that's because
because
of their age, I think.
Mhm.
Some of them are
Yeah.
feeling the pressure of doing it because of
Mhm.
the circumstances of their lives. I have a feeling that the longer we go, I think Gen X, there'll be an uptick because we're starting to understand our mortality. I mean, I have
Well,
people I went to high school with that have already passed away, and not
jeez.
because they died young from fast living or whatever, but like I know for a fact that there was a client, maybe it wasn't a client, but an acquaintance who found out had been in a long-term care facility,
Mm.
and then passed, and then I subsequently found out he's younger than me.
Oh my gosh.
So obviously very not in good health at all.
Yeah.
I think I think he was diabetic, so
Oh,
that's never a good thing, and not one that took care of himself. But
yeah.
so
Never want to make it easy for sure. But
yeah,
I think
so
though that oftentimes, especially as you were kind of alluding to the fact that, hey, the baby boomer generation, they're getting into it, so obviously they're doing their more estate planning. However, I think that you speaking you as your generational group, that you actually have a little bit more issues that maybe the baby boomers didn't. The first thing that I think is kind of really interesting is that you were kind of referred to as if you will allow me the term, you're also the sandwich generation. Ready for this? Not that you all like sandwiches. It's a whole thing.
I
It's
love
that
sandwiches, but I don't know exactly what it means to be the sandwich generation.
that you're actually sandwiched between caring for two separate generations. And this is, of
Oh,
course, nothing bad against the baby boomer generation or my own millennial generation. It's that due to just the aging of the baby boomer generation, of course, trying to help with aging parents, but also, and, due to medical marvels that we're all enjoying right now, which prolong life, that means, hey, mom and dad need probably a little bit more care as not only life progresses, but also potentially incapacity for longer periods of time last, right? Long-term care needs are a little bit longer for maybe
so
the
you're
baby.
saying we're basically taking care of our own kids and our parents?
That's the other side, yeah, is taking care of your own kids due to, again, economic constraints, not able to get into the housing market when, they're aging up and those kinds of things, really struggling to maybe get their feet underneath them. You're finding Gen Xers are actually kind of supporting both.
Hmm.
And I'm sure a lot of our listeners who are possibly in that same generation can kind of understand that idea that, yeah, that might be them a little bit more than it was their parents. And hopefully it's not going to be the same situation with their own children. Sandwich generation. There you go. You
Okay.
eat the sandwiches, you're sandwiched between all of these other constraints and maybe some extra pressures that are and responsibilities that the generation before you never instructed you on what to do with, right?
Gotcha.
But that's also kind of been your generation's way, right? That you didn't necessarily need all the instruction, you were figuring it out anyway.
Yeah, and I think I've read, and I don't even remember where, and I don't know how legit this is, but that we're kind of a, I don't know if this is a gross generalization, but kind of a rebel generation. Like we're like fiercely independent, and we don't necessarily like to take advice or counsel from our elders. I'm definitely describing what it was like to raise me. You could ask my parents. I fit that to a T.
Right. I think actually your T-shirt next to your name really does identify this entirely. If that's not the rebel generation, not just the Cure the band themselves, but you'd look to yourself and say, "Hey, I have the answers."
Yeah,
that's your generation, right? To say, "No,
yeah,
we'll figure it out," and we are figuring it
for
out.
sure. And we're not bad at it. I mean, I don't know. I guess you'll tell me how bad we are. How screwed am I?
Well, I think that actually encapsulates another one of the pressures that your generation would potentially have, is that you're in a very complex situation involving a lot of estate planning factors. Maybe we'll touch on a few others, but you feel like, hey, you know what? We can do it on our own. So maybe you got it done a while ago and you think, well, it's one and done. I'm fine, right? I talked to somebody about a power of attorney once. I'm sure that that's going to be okay. Because you're fiercely independent, you're not wanting to rely on kind of some of these more tried and true institutions like going to an estate planning attorney to try and figure some of these out. Think I'm hitting it on the head?
Yeah. So you're saying we like to walk a tightrope with no net.
There you go. And probably on fire because it's cooler that way.
Okay, well, so what do we do about this?
Well, let's continue to maybe identify two of these other things.
So we're not done listing how many problems we have.
We're not even identifying the problems first.
Okay.
You have kind of like the multi-generational coordination that's required. Specifically, you're trying to support the baby boomer generation and also this millennial and all the other generations after you to make sure that everybody's kind of getting to the finish line at the same time, right? You're kind of supporting both. You're bridging that gap between the two and helping everybody forward.
Sounds like a lot of people would be in trouble if we weren't around.
Arguably, all of us would be in trouble if you weren't around, man. Also, then, is you have this fierce determination to figure out how to do it on your own, right? Complex situation, and now you're just trying to deal with it as it is. The other two things that I think are there's several other factors here, but one of them is the inherited IRA. I'm sure you're thinking, well, that's kind of a weird one to include in here. The inherited IRA is, can you figure out why that would kind of be an issue for your particular generation?
Well, yeah, but probably because of recent changes in the law and how those things work when they're inherited. It used to be that if you inherited an IRA from your parents, you would have your life expectancy upon which to base the remaining stretch, meaning how long you have to pull money out of it. But the Secure Act changed that, and now, unless you're a surviving spouse or a disabled child, you have 10 years from the day you lose that loved one to have all the money extracted from that account, which means the taxes are coming due quicker, and the tax burden on that money overall is heavier.
Right.
So those accounts are less valuable to us than they were to the previous generation.
Right.
And
you're looking at your generation in particular that is having parents that are getting to this age where they're supposed to start taking those required minimum distributions. And then what if they pass away and now you're inheriting it all and you're thinking, wait, mom and dad told me that I would have my lifetime to be able to stretch this all out. When they started these IRAs, they thought that was going to be the best solution. And now, we're running into some issues when it comes to distributions. Also, to explain it a little bit too, a lot of people are thinking, well, if I have 10 years to pull it, well, I'll pull it as a case.
You're going to pay all the taxes in year 10 then.
Right. But also, something else that did sunset was here in the IRS final regs enforced in 2025. So starting last year, if the original owner started taking their required minimum required minimum
Then you have to
distribution.
keep taking them.
Yes, you have to take them every single year that you'll have to
Yeah.
take a distribution. Otherwise, you get there's a, I think it's what, 25% excise
15%.
penalty? Yeah, 25% that's just applied as well. So now it's not just, I'll wait until 10 years, maybe my tax situation will be better and then I'll take it all out. Nope, there's now a problem with that as well. Right? So any of the misdistributions, 25% excise penalty
Jeez.
that would be applied to that. So that's why I like to bring up that inherited IRA, because, wow, I mean, it sounds like even you being a notable member of this generation as well, weren't maybe aware that, hey, let's
Well,
look at this a little bit closer.
in my particular case, my parents have like an old dinosaur pension. So my
Yeah.
dad retired before they kind of started the whole 401k racket.
Yeah.
So there's not a big fund full of pre-tax dollars that I'll ever have to pull down on, right?
Right.
So
Well,
they're going to be, both my mom and my dad will continue to collect the same amount of money, whether regardless of which one of them is the surviving spouse when the first one passes, they'll continue to get that pension until they're both gone. And they're doing great with that. I mean, for them, they're taken care of. But for me, there's no part of my inheritance will involve pre-tax dollars. So
right.
I'm
So
sure there are lots of people in Gen X that have parents with 401s. So that is an issue, but not in my particular case.
right. But then that also kind of brings up, it's just really some of this. Okay, if here's a problem, then there might just be some complexity to be able to find the solution, the cure, if you will, to what this is. Roth conversions all of a sudden become kind of a big idea to say, well, hey, let's talk to the parents then, maybe in that boomer generation, to say, maybe a Roth conversion, if you have that 401k or if you have that IRA, maybe pay the taxes. Maybe your tax bracket's a little bit better than your kids,
Yeah.
on the off chance that, hey, if they're going to inherit it, then they can at least take it. They'll still have 10 years to pull, but they won't have any of the tax burden that would be associated with it.
Yeah, and that's something I think everybody should be aware of,
Yeah.
regardless of what generation you're in. If you have a lot of money in pre-tax types of retirement accounts, you should be working with, I mean, ideally, you're working in a legacy office type situation where your estate planner, your tax professional, and your financial advisor, they're all working under the same roof or umbrella, and they all know, all the left hands know what all the right hands are doing. And one of the things you should be looking at is, if I'm taking distributions, maybe I shouldn't just take the minimum. Maybe I should take the minimum and then have some numbers crunched to determine how much more could I take this year without putting myself in the next tax bracket, and convert that to Roth money, pay the taxes on it now. And then that money continues to grow tax free and is later distributed tax free, which is a huge advantage. So people should be taking advantage of that Roth conversion strategy. But you got to make sure you work with somebody that knows how to do it so it gets done right and it's done tax efficiently.
Well, and Nathan, you actually were just kind of bringing up a point that really leads us to kind of maybe the fourth problem that we have in here, which is when you're saying, hey, let's strategize maybe when I'm going to start taking the maximum amount of these distributions from an inherited IRA or something like that, is, say if I have a business at the same time. Say I have a business that I'm saying, hey, you know what? I'm also going to be trying to sell this business, because I'm sure also at your generation as well, you're thinking a little bit more.
Yeah, I'd say that, like, one thing that we have going for us, at least from where I sit, I see it as an advantage, is we're kind of in our peak earning years.
Yeah. But what's the disadvantages of being in your peak earning years, though, Nathan?
Higher tax brackets? I don't know.
And then go ahead and add an inherited IRA on top of that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It compounds. But people that are in my position, we know this because we've dealt with a lot of them. They're maybe having business exits come up where they've built a company, they've been at it for 20, 25 years, which may or may not be how long I've been practicing law. And and somebody's coming along and saying, hey, we're looking at buying up your business, or
Mhm.
maybe you're out shopping for buyers for a business that you've built that's doing really well, but you're looking for an exit.
Yeah. And so in that circumstance, well, can't you just, I don't know, just sell the business and no issues there, Nathan?
You can. I mean, you're going to hurt yourself if you do that
But
without.
wait a minute. I'm the owner. I spent all of this time. I spent, I scrimped and saved and I figured it out on my own to be able to have this. And now I'm just going to live that sweet life when I sell it, right? Got
Yeah,
my
the
great
IRS.
business together, $3 million. I got a good buyer. I negotiated it. But hold on a second. What taxes are you talking about? I mean, isn't this me leaving so I don't have income tax associated with it?
You sell, there's going to be tax man's going to come knocking. So you better have a strategy, because if you don't, they have one for you, and it involves taking half.
Yeah, yeah. Or at a sizable sum, $3 million business, trying to leave in your mid 50s ish, getting close to that 60. Get also add of course, Utah's tax on top of it. Long-term capital gains for the net investments, any of that as well. $500,000, $700,000. A lot of you are thinking, well, hold on a second. I thought I was winning in this.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's 100%. So, I mean, that's where the whole, um, the whole concept of a legacy office, having
Mhm.
advisors working together that can all see the different parts of the puzzle,
Yeah.
working together to come up with a solution, so you're not sending that kind of a check to the IRS.
Right. And you're thinking about, okay, people then in your situation, you're thinking you're at your maximum, you're at your peak income earning years, right? Mid 40s to your 50s. Like that's really the time when,
And beyond.
yeah,
People are
and
going to work
beyond,
into
for
their
sure.
60s. Some people are going to work into their 70s, but
Right.
you've been at it for 20 years,
hmm
probably 15, 20
Hopefully
years.
especially for your generation, the housing market was really kind of a little bit more decent to you than it is
Mhm.
to maybe my generation. And
Yes.
so you have a ton of equity in that house, right?
Yeah.
Which allowed you to get into maybe start that business a little bit early. Your parents
Mhm.
were kind of riding this idea of maybe doing IRAs and 401ks. So you're now reaping the benefit of that too. And then imagine with all of that complexity in place, now trying to support those two generations at the same time.
Yeah.
It seems like you have all of the tools and you have the funds in place. Now, if you passed away, back to that comment you made before, that seems like it would just pass so easily. Seems like there'd be
Yeah.
no issues if that
No.
happened.
No. Not if we're in the planning scenario that you just outlined. If we're in that kind of predicament in terms of the
Mhm.
entire generation not taking advantage of estate planning and tax planning and financial planning, then that's going to leave a huge mess for the generation after us.
Yeah, and the sad part is that the scenario that Nathan had described with this friend of his who was about his age. That is a scenario that we see all the time. People in this Gen X generation who are thinking, "Hey, you know what? I'm kind of on top of the world, but I'm also supporting the rest of the world, kind of carrying them all on your back." And that
Mhm.
stress is the one that puts you in an early grave.
Yeah, no, that's
Then,
absolutely the case. And
right?
we've watched that happen over and over again, right? Where
Yeah.
the generation that is still trying to finish raising their kids, and they're taking care of their parents,
hmm
they have it. I would say it's interesting, because I've said this a lot in the last few years. I think
hmm
I'm busier now and have more pressure on me now than I ever have before,
Yeah.
just in terms of the complexity of my situation and the
hmm
number of irons I have in the fire,
Yeah.
the age that my kids are at. At any moment I could be having a kid coming home telling me they're getting married, or they're
Mhm.
trying to buy a home. Um,
Or heaven
and at the same,
forbid, they having a divorce or anything like that,
yeah,
or their own
yeah, for sure.
bankruptcy, and now they need to come home.
Yeah. And just in the last year, my parents have gone from being pretty self-sufficient and living pretty independently to, we're starting to see the cracks in the foundation where they're starting to age. They're getting to the point where their age and their health is becoming an issue. So yeah, Super busy, super complicated situations that a lot of us are working through right now.
Right. And I think with those kind of all of those pieces in place, oftentimes another issue that I guess then that your generation would run into that we've already alluded to is that you think, well, I'm sure I'll figure it out. I'm sure I'll figure out
Mhm.
on my own how to do my own planning. Or even worse is you think, but I did that like 10, 15 years ago. I went to a seminar, I got a sweet deal for my business, and now I think I'm fine. I've
Yeah,
taken care of it, right? You
that
didn't forget that,
trust I put in place in 2009, it's perfect. It's in good shape.
right? Or, oh, I assigned beneficiaries on that life insurance policy, but that was to an ex-spouse. We
Yeah.
definitely haven't dealt with that for sure.
Yeah. No, I had a client just in the last year who had been divorced for over 5 years.
Mm,
Still had his ex listed on $1 million life insurance policy
yep.
and knew it. Didn't not a thing where we discovered it through the planning. It's just he knew it, but he's busy taking care of his
Yeah.
kids, taking care of parents. It's always the last thing that he gets to. It gets pushed off the edge of his desk. And it took me saying, no, we're not going to go another day. We're going to pick up the phone right now. And he'd actually tried to call a couple times, and you run into three brick walls in the first hour that you're trying to deal with something like that. And then
Hey.
three things come up, you have to move on. And before you know, you blink and 6 months have gone by and you still haven't made that change. So totally get how that happens.
Mhm. I think you said it perfectly, embodying the voice of your generation to say, that sounds great, Mr. Stone, who's a millennial, but when on earth would I have the time?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Great. You complained again about an
Yeah.
issue that you've seen. You're so wise in your new generation.
I'm glad you've got it all together.
I'm glad you figured it out before
Yeah,
we did, huh?
that's right.
So what do they need to do, Nathan? What does your
I have
generation
no idea. You've got me scared to death, and I'm a planner. No, I actually do have some ideas, but I think probably something that comes up in one or two of our podcasts is this idea of doing it all yourself. It's not going to work out. Just seen it way too much. It's not going to work out. So I think the first thing is finding a trusted advisor, a professional that this is what they do all day is help people solve these kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Um, Screen for somebody amazing, get somebody in your corner and
Mhm.
then let them go to work and help you put the solutions in place to deal with these potential problems.
Right. I always say find someone who you absolutely can connect with, who you feel like, oh, apparently, huh, lost me for a minute there. Connect
Right
with,
as
and I
you
mean
said,
by connect,
connect with your video turned off.
it's like not you, guy.
Mhm.
Try to find. Oh my gosh, it's turned into a.
Well, thankfully, we're mostly audio only, so
There you
you
go.
just keep blinking in and out, and we'll
Yeah,
ignore it.
you're missing some quality strobing effects. Everybody
That's
else who's
right.
just listening. Find somebody who you connect with. Find somebody who also understands some of these processes and are willing to actually speak to kind of the more complex nature of what we're already describing, right? Not just saying, hey, it's a trust, get out of here, right? One and done, walk away. Like you had said, Nathan, I think having a trusted advisor in place that you think, you know what? It's 2000, it's past 2009. Maybe I want to call Taylor back up again and just figure out, hey, are we still good? Is everything still all right? When we transferred these things over, is it all still in place?
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
a great idea.
Even better, add to that, what if you had somebody who not only a trusted advisor, but one who could say, we also have our CPA here who's kind of re-verifying and willing to talk you through some tax planning at the same time. Financial planner as well, who's willing to dovetail in to make sure that you're maximizing what you're pulling at the same time, and all of us kind of working together in a coordinated effort. I think that's the gold standard, right? It's that legacy office you were talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's pretty common, and you've even said it, that a lot of us, even though we're laggards in a lot of ways, it sounds like we at least did some planning, earlier on. It needs to be updated, needs to be revisited, but probably something that we didn't do and that I don't think many generations have done. And I think that's something that's up and coming is to have an actual written financial plan on top of your regular estate planning, right? So
Mhm.
to have a good solid tax strategy that works hand in glove with your estate plan, and then to have a written roadmap for your finances.
Mhm.
I think probably one of the other challenges that my generation faces is that in addition to not being prepared with estate planning, we're probably one of the least prepared groups that's, you know, entering kind of pre-retirement age. We're the least prepared for retirement than our previous generations, right?
I mean, it was your generation that actually, I mean, almost single-handedly has been building the 401k plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you
Yep.
hit it right on the head to say that your parents were the end of pensions.
Yeah.
And now, nope, you get this whole self-funded thing. Oh no, there's better options because you are DIY. So
Yeah.
you get to invest on your own. You're welcome. It's as much as you put in. You get to decide, which ultimately means, oh, you don't have as much. Oh,
Yeah.
you're
And
not.
most people, they think it's just about making good investments, making good decisions about what to do with, how to save that money, how to grow it.
Mhm.
Not a lot of thought being put into what does it look like when we have to actually start drawing down on this, when
Yeah.
this is our fallback,
Mhm.
when, income from actual work is gone because of retirement. What's it going to look like? And that's where having an actual written financial plan that shows, you know, how much do you have, what are your objectives in retirement, and how will you meet those objectives? You're not going to do it by accident. Like, it's just
No.
anything that is left to its own devices is going to, devolve into chaos. So you
Mhm.
have to have somebody with their eye on the ball, somebody keeping the plan on track. And I just said that, when on earth would I have the time? Well, I won't. So
No.
that's why it's so important that I partner with a good advisory team,
Mhm.
um, and have my legacy office in order.
Yeah. Let somebody else take and do that heavy lifting for you, at
Yeah.
least on this side, right?
Yeah. I
Allow
mean, be
us.
careful. Pick somebody, be careful who you choose, but once you choose them, let them go to work and let them do their thing, and
Yeah.
then be serious about following through on the plan that you ultimately decide to execute on together.
Right? Because I think that you really hit it too with to be able to say, well, this is what my plan, this is what my strategy looks like. But I know that a lot of listeners are thinking too with that initial issue that we already talked about, being in that sandwich generation, right? Sandwich between those other two generations, thinking, well, my plan looks like I'm already looking at long-term care costs for mom and dad. I'm also
Yeah.
looking at, hey, can I have my kids maybe stay home a little bit longer into their college years? What is that going to look like for them, right? I had the opportunity to stay at home for typical millennial, right? That I had the opportunity to stay at home a little bit into my undergrad degree, just because I had parents who had that same kind of planning. Well, let's make sure that you're being provided for a little bit better, maybe better than we had it, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Right. And so, as you said, I mean, it's the planning would have been great 10 years ago. Even better if we're able to get it done immediately. If what best time to invest was 10 years ago, the
Well,
next
like they
best
say,
time
the
is right now.
best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is today.
It is today. So with all of these pieces, everything that we've already addressed, what's the next steps? What's the next steps for your generation to do? We've talked about the problem. The millennials talked about the problem.
I don't, you're asking me, what are the next steps?
Yes. I love that analogy. Best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is today, right? Same with your estate planning. Best time to have done it was 20 years ago, and oftentimes your generation probably has. You've probably already started it 20 years ago. Next best time would be right now to be able to reach out, hopefully today, to be able to reach out to somebody and say, maybe you can at least look at this plan. Maybe my plan and my goals are a little bit different. Maybe all of the planning looks a little bit different. Maybe my assets are different than they were 10 years ago, right? Or 20
So
years
you're
ago.
saying it's time to revisit anything that's been done in the past or
Mhm.
get started if you haven't gotten started.
Exactly.
Okay.
And to, finally allow somebody else to share that load, share that burden between, both of those generations that you're struggling with, to be able to say, you know what, this group would be able to, I can find a trusted advisor to be able to just kind of help me move forward.
You're pleading with me to let someone help me in my predicament. Okay, Taylor, I will take you up on it.
At the very least, Nathan Croxford will be able to ask for some help.
I don't know what I can do to help Gen X other than talk about it, right? So that's the whole point of
Yeah.
the podcast is we want to get the word out that
Yeah.
if you've been stuck in a rut of doing it yourself and you're carrying the whole world on your shoulders, today is probably a good time to reevaluate that strategy, understand that the world's a lot more complex place than it used to be. The stakes are really high and there's not a lot of time for margins of error, right? So I think what you're saying is it's time to get things in order.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Cool. Well, thanks for carrying us today, Taylor. I will try not to fit the prototypical Gen X for our next outing together, but appreciate it. And again, if you are looking for assistance, you can always reach out to us. You can find us at voyantlegal.com. And please subscribe to our podcast, share it with anyone who could benefit from it. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, any place, anywhere that provides podcast content. And with that, thanks for joining me today, Taylor, and
Absolutely.
we'll sign off and we'll see everybody next time. Thanks.
See ya, everybody. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Legacy Lawyers with Michael Haslam and Nathan Croxford. We give you the juicy detail of cases that our law firm has dealt with. We take out the lawyer talk and legalese and show you what options some of our clients had to choose from to fix their situation. The effects of not doing planning can be devastating. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us on Facebook and Instagram at Voyant Legal. Call us at 801-951-0500 or send us an email at team@voyantlegal.com. And for commonly asked questions, hit voyantlegal.com/resources. We'll see you next time.